What's up, everyone? It's Rafi. Today's game started with d4, knight f6. Let's play c4. I am playing a 15-minute game here on Lee Chess, 10 plus 5, against Kadem Subir Singha. Kadem Subir Singha. Very interesting name. Lots of different moves here. Yeah, g6 is a big one. There's d6, e6, c6. I mean, just the list is endless. d5, b6. So now we are headed towards the King's Indian defense. So against this move, I usually play the move f3, which is the same-ish variation of the King's Indian. So the ideas here basically are to solidify this center with f3, and then put this bishop on g5 actually, and put the queen on d2. And then, you know, depending on what black plays, if he plays e5, then I might just play d5 and plan on castling on the queen side and throwing all the pawns at him. And if he plays c5, then I'll play d5 and we'll plan on castling on the king side in this opening. Kadem Subir Singha. So main move for black, I believe, is like h6, after which I'll play bishop e3. If he doesn't play h6, then he can play also maybe like he can play c5. He can play c6. He can play knight b to d7. I mean, there's a lot of different things he can do. He can play rook e8. He can, I think, even play e5. Although after e5, d takes e, d takes e, queen takes, rook takes queen. And then knight d5 might be a problem, because then I'm hitting c7 and the knight on f6, and it's difficult to defend both of them. So e5 is a mistake here. Most common stuff, I think, is c5, knight c6, knight d7, h6. Some people have seen b6. I've seen c6 as well. I've seen a5. The ideas for white are pretty simple. Whether he plays e5 or c5, I'm going to push the d5 pawn up, probably. Depending on which one of those two pawns he pushes, I'm going to either leave my king in the center, or I'm going to castle kingside, or even queenside. And if I castle queenside or leave my king in the center, the idea is to play moves like g4, h4, you know, h5, g5, etc. The knight on g1 usually ends up going to h3. As soon as knight b to d7 happens, basically I put the knight on h3 and then I put the knight on f2. Knight on f2 is usually well placed in these kind of positions. Oftentimes the knight also can go from g1 to e2 to g3. And then after, you know, the bishop comes out and we castle, we can play knight h1 and f2. It's a long way to get there, but it is definitely one of the ideas in this opening. So now queen d2 makes a lot of sense, attacking that h6 pawn again. So here we have an interesting situation because he hasn't committed d5 or c5 or e5 yet. So I'm not totally sure which direction to castle, but for now I think we can just put the bishop Or we can play a waiting move as well. I could play rook to c1. And after bishop b7, then I play knight h3. That could be one idea. Rook d1 is another idea. So if rook d1, it's kind of preventing this e5 break. Or even c5, honestly. I'm going to actually play rook d1. I'm going to wait till he commits his bishop. Because I think he's going to play bishop to either a6 or b7 probably. And once he does that, so now that he played that already, now my knight's going to hop up to h3 and in one move come to f2. So I'm still not worried about any kind of e5, c5 stuff because at the very least I can play d5 and, you know, my position looks awesome. So he commits to e5, which means that I'm probably going to leave my king in the center. Or just straight up, I could probably also... Yeah, I'll probably leave my king in the center of this game, honestly. There's no need to castle anymore now. I'm just going to throw everything at the kingside now with g4, h4. Okay, so I don't know what that move a5 really accomplished for him. Oh, I get the idea now. He wants to play knight to c5. Okay, well, knight can hang out on c5, no problem. What is that knight doing, you know? There's no really good squares for that knight to even come to. So I'm gonna not worry about that too much. I'm gonna go ahead and start my expansions on this side of the board. Starting with g4. Okay. So he got his knight to the dream position over here on c5. But once again, I don't know what that knight is gonna do, like what the plan of that knight is. It looks good, but there are no squares in my position that he can really infiltrate on. So I have no problem just continuing this attack over here. Okay, so he wants to play f5. And I really want to discourage that f5, so how can I do that? If g5, he'll play h5. If h5, he'll play g5. Let's put this bishop... Well, there's another problem if I put the bishop on h3. He could play bishop a6 and go after this pawn on c4. So f5 is being threatened here. Bishop h3 also, there's another problem actually. I just realized queen takes h4 is a problem. Let's go ahead and push this pawn through. See what progress we can make. Because if I can just shut down the f5 move, I mean, like, you know, there's no breaks. Yeah, so now there's no more breaks on that side of the board. I just have to get a knight to f5 now. So maybe rook h2 now, followed by knight h1, knight g3. Or, better yet, I can play knight e2, knight g3, and knight f5. Yeah, let's do this knight, actually. Knight on f2 now is not doing anything for me, so I need to go ahead and activate that guy. The knight on c3 I might need on that side of the board because it's my main defender of the queenside and possibly attacker as well because I can go to b5 and start attacking that c7 pawn. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that knight over there for now. So knight h1, and then now comes knight g3 and knight f5. If he plays a3, I can play b3 and really just shut down any kind of activity on this queenside here. He goes back to c8. He wants to be able to capture on f5 when I put my knight there. But I think that's fine with me. If he does that, I'll take with the g-pawn, and I will, go after this g5 pawn, basically. Let's not rush into it, though. Let's give it some time. Let's slowly build up our position to be a good one. So my idea now is to play maybe like, I don't know, long plan, but maybe play king f2, rook g1, and then king back to e1 or something like that. Could work. Just an idea, I don't know. I want to play knight f5, but after he takes, I take. Yeah, I don't know what I would have accomplished though. That's the thing. So now I'm just, again, continuing to solidify everything on this side of the board, pretty much. But the position is going to be hard to break open, though. It's very locked up right now, and neither of us really have any good breaks in the position. One thing I can do, though, is I can play queen c2 and play b4 next. That's what I'm going to do. Take that knight back and maybe try to get c5 in the position somehow. If I can make that move work, maybe we can get something out of this. But, I mean, it's not looking very bright. The future is not looking very bright. It's looking like a very dull and boring draw that we're headed towards here, with all pawns locked up. So queen c2. Oh, so he played that move so that... Oh, okay, I see the idea here. Oh, so now he wants to play knight b4, huh? This light square bishop has really been problematic for us. If I can somehow get rid of that bishop, all these light squares will be in my control, really. I can play, knight f5, knight b5, all this type of moves. But how do I trade these light square bishops? I mean, I have no idea. The game is looking extremely, drawn. But I am going to shift my pieces over to this other side of the board, though. Like, I'm going to play rook c1, rook d1 now. Because kingside is pretty locked up. I'm not making any progress there anytime soon. If I take that bishop, where is his knight on b4 going to go? I think I'm winning that piece. Now he has nothing better than to take on d5, I think. And this comes to the check. It's completely lost now for him. He's losing everything. The rook is lost. So I'm gonna go ahead and just grab the rook first. And the whole thing is falling apart for him. That move does nothing to really stop what I'm gonna do next, which is rook takes c7. Just wondering if there's anything faster than that even. I think this is good enough. Threatening checkmate and threatening to take the queen at the same time. So this is, yeah, very unfortunate for him. I mean, he had a dead draw. Just totally blew it from that position. Okay, so I can get this knight involved. Knight go into e4 next. Should be a pretty winning plan here. So that's, yeah, very unfortunate for my opponent because I think he had a pretty drawn position. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to hold on to it with time pressure. So let's take a look to see what happened here. Wow, taking a while to analyze this game. I may have to restart the engine. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and restart the engine here real quick. Okay, so games. It's this one right here. Okay, so it's done analyzing. I have no inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. Average centipon loss is 11. That is a perfect game. He also has... Oh, wow, that can't be right. That doesn't seem right to me. He doesn't have any blunders or anything at all? Wow. Anyway, okay. Well, if that's what you were working with here, that's what it is. So let's start. I feel like he made blunders definitely in this game. Definitely made blunders, but maybe by the time he made a blunder, he was already so lost. I don't know. Okay, so this is all normal. So he castles bishop g5, which is known as the Steiner attack. h6, bishop back, b6. Then I play queen d2, which is the most natural, normal looking move here. So I'm just looking to see if we enter theory again at any point. Nope, looks like we're solidly out of theory here for the rest of the game. So okay, so basically starting here, queen d2 I think is a very natural move. The computer is suggesting it's the best move. So nothing wrong with that. Attacking h6, he defends. Then I play kind of like a waiting move. I just want to see what will he do with his light square bishop. Because if he's going to put the bishop on that b7 square, then I'm going to hop up with knight h3 next move. And if he's going to leave it on that diagonal, like he also wants to play a waiting move, then I might consider either bishop d3 or might even consider knight e2 right away. And just spend a few extra moves to get the knight to f2 if needed. But I really like to see, okay, now it's suggesting rook d1 as the top move. I really like this rook d1 waiting move, actually. It's a helpful move because it also actually stops c5 and e5 from happening. So it's a waiting move, but it's also a useful move at the same time. To bishop b7, I played knight h3. Knight bd7. So knight f2 is usually where the knight is headed, so I just went ahead and put it there. Then he played e5, and now I pushed on d5. a5 to secure the b4 square so that he can put the knight on c5, so I can't put a pawn there. I just continue my kingside attack, so now it starts with g4. He gets a knight on a very nice snug square, but looks great, but doesn't really do much from c5 really. So h4, and here I just went ahead and committed to h5, but now its computer likes it, so yeah. There's nothing wrong with h5. g5. Then I start my maneuvering of the knight towards f5, which I do by playing rook h2, which the engine does not find here. Now not h1. Knight g3. Bishop e2. King f2. Rook G1. And a bunch of shuffling back and forth at this point, really. There's nothing going on in this position. So now I shuffled both rooks back to this side, and he's just shuffling back and forth. Not really doing anything. And here I wanted to cause some trouble, so I began to just, cause some problems. So I played this knight over here first. Bishop d2 does come with the threat of knight b5, basically. So now knight b5. And he takes. Then that's how he loses his piece. So now this makes him lose the knight on b4. Nothing about that he can do. He has to sacrifice. He does it that way. Obviously, my queen is now entered. I grab a rook. Rook takes c7. Basically just ends the game right on the spot. There's not much to see really here, but yeah. So this, and that's it. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. And I plan on catching you in my next video.